Warning, this podcast contains spoilers and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Scary cat, have a scary chat. Scary cat with Rob and Ash.
Welcome back to Scaredy Cat. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Ash.
And this is the podcast where one person who loves horror films
And someone else who would rather not do this.
watch and talk about them. And this week, we're going to watch a brand new... What did I miss?
How am I? How are you?
Oh. How are you, Ashley?
I feel like you don't even want to know.
I skipped over it because I didn't think to ask.
I know. I'm aware.
How are you, Ashley?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good. That's nice to know. It's nice to be asked, isn't it?
It's not like I didn't ask.
Fine. It's
I
fine.
did ask.
It's fine.
I feel like you're being sarcastic now.
What? Who? What are we doing this week?
We're doing it.
What?
It. You know,
We're
who's
not.
on first?
What's on second?
It's on third.
Ew. That's not how it goes.
It is now.
Is this that clown shit? Is it clown stuff? Is it a clown movie?
It's clown stuff. It's a clown stuff. It's a clown porn. Where they
Okay.
do clown stuff.
I'm with you.
What do you think it is about?
Can you just tell me? It's a clown porn.
Clown porn.
Done. End of story.
How does a clown porn
No,
work?
okay, wait. Okay, so give me something, because it is pretty fucking vague.
No,
It
it is
could-
it.
Be anything.
It's it. It is. It I is. I is it.
So, not knowing anything about this
It.
film,
Not knowing anything about it. Yes.
not knowing anything about it, what year was it made?
It is from this year, 2017.
Oh, us, right now, present time.
It is now.
So, because of our current climate, I feel like the best thing to do right now, horror movie wise, would definitely be like an existential horror. Like, I didn't think this through.
Big ideas.
So I think that it is an existential horror. It's a horror movie about a young girl who moves to a new place. She's just moved out of her parents' house. She's done with them. They're old and they smell weird.
They're not it.
Not at all. And she's a little bit sad about it, but she's doing okay. She's fine.
Okay.
So she moves to this little town.
Bethlehem.
Nope. We'll call it
Little town of Bethlehem.
let's say she moved to Kingsville, North Carolina.
Okay.
So she moves to North Carolina because she likes beaches, but she doesn't like tourists. So she's like, North Carolina will work. So she gets there and she lives in a house by herself in the woods. I don't know if there are woods in North Carolina. Do let me know if there's not. She's trying to figure out who she is. She can't really get a good hold on it because she's maybe had a violent past. Maybe she had a really manipulative ex. Her mom's kind of a bitch. Her dad was in and out of her life. Blah, blah, blah. She's got this whole backstory. You're finding out about it piece by piece throughout the whole film. So,
Cousin died in a weird smelting accident.
it was tragic. Absolutely tragic. So, she's having this existential crisis. She's trying to figure out who she is. And then one night she's sitting all alone in the middle of the woods meditating, as you do. And something strange is happening. Like,
Pizza.
there's...
Pizza.
She thinks that, like, someone's in the woods with her.
With pizza.
that someone's chasing her. There's a
pizza.
knife. There's a stabbing. She's bleeding. It's very confusing. We're not seeing much. We're just seeing a lot of like frantic movement in the dark. Actually, the screen is pitch black. We're just hearing like scuffle.
And then there's a lit up Domino's pizza car.
Sure, why not? But general scuffle. Then the next day she wakes up.
No kerfuffle.
She has this big scar, like a big slash across her chest, partially healed, like it happened a couple of days ago. No blood anywhere. And then you find out eventually at the end of the movie that her personality has split into two physical beings. Who the fuck even knows how that happened? But it did. And this person is trying to kill her and take over her life. And then she's like, she's the good one. She's like, I didn't have a bad childhood. And then the other one's like, you're in denial. And so they're like trying to kill each other, and then it ends and you don't know what happens. And then it comes back and then they're both dead.
Post-credit scene.
Because because there was a third one that nobody knew about. And it was the baby one. And it killed them both. And it was like, fuck you.
Ashley, you've done it.
What?
You did it.
I did what?
It.
What?
You've figured it out.
What are you talking about?
You've done it.
I've done what?
It.
What?
It.
Are we going to keep doing this?
Until we cut away and go watch the movie and then come back.
So we're actually going to go to a theater and watch this movie.
It is a first for us.
Wah, wah. I mean, we've been to a theater before.
But not this theater for it.
For what?
It.
What?
It, the movie we were seeing. So we just watched with the kids, or I did, The Holy Grail last weekend.
Yeah.
And they have the Knights Who Say Ni. But the word that the Knights Who Say Ni cannot hear is it.
So this would be really hard for them.
It would be very hard.
What did you think about my story? Do you think that that's going to happen?
There are certain parts of it which actually do happen in it.
What?
There are other parts that do not.
What?
But there's other parts that sound a lot like a different movie that I was thinking about.
What?
I'll have to think about it.
Can I tell you what in my head it kind of turned into for
Well,
like 4 seconds?
For a little while, it turned into
United
high
States of-
tension.
United States of Terra.
I thought you were going to go with high tension.
No. I mean, I use high tension as a reference for like literally everything.
But
Everything. Okay? Everything. What do you want to tell me about it before we go watch it?
how many Stephen King movies have we done now? 1,
2 effing many.
2,
We did Cell.
Shining. Is there another one in there?
Those are the only 2.
So just 2?
I think so.
All right, we'll just make the third film based on a Stephen King book.
So
Can't be right.
this is a book that he wrote
Yes, he wrote it
all by himself?
all by himself.
That's so nice.
He's the only one who did it.
That's really nice. I'm sure his wife helped him.
Tabitha?
Her name is Tabitha?
Mm-hmm.
Nuh-uh.
It sure is.
That's fucked up.
Tabitha King.
I didn't know that.
I did. I knew it.
This is too much.
All right, we're going to watch it and we'll be back.
We're gonna watch what?
It.
What?
It.
What?
It. All right, we're back. We just watched It, Pennywise the Dancing Clown. And
That's
we went.
kind of an adorable name. Pennywise the Dancing Clown.
I don't know. Clowns have always kind of been creepy, like especially back in the early days when they didn't understand that the makeup made it more creepy.
I think we've talked about this before, but like old-timey clowns were scary and old-timey Easter bunnies were pretty fucking terrifying.
That's true.
If you want to have nightmares for weeks, just Google like old-timey Easter bunnies and freak yourself out.
So we should start off by saying that we saw this one in theaters because it's still
How
in
else
theaters.
would we see it?
And it's probably this is the first time for this podcast we've gone and seen a movie, and we had to get the babysitter, and we had to pay like hundreds of dollars.
$50.
$50
Babysitters are
for 5 hours
expensive now.
Oh god, I remember back when it was like, $20 for the whole night.
I used to babysit a little girl during the day, like all summer. I made $50 a week. when I was a teenager. I
See-
think we're getting screwed.
I was a guy. We didn't do the babysitting thing.
See, I didn't want to do the babysitting thing. I don't particularly like watching other people's kids. Never have. And because I'm a girl, it was just kind of like, well, it's an easy way to make money. I was terrible at it. I hate kids.
So we went to the theater. We went to not the best of
We went to a
theaters.
very sketchy theater in South Philly.
It was
Disgusting.
It was abandoned.
When we left there, I felt like I needed to burn my clothes.
One thing you want to do when you get to a theater is look outside and see how many.
Cars are in the parking lot on a Saturday night.
Yes, and then look how many teens are hanging out in the parking lot. No cars, lots of teens, which is usually a bad sign.
Yes, it's always a bad sign. Again, teenagers are terrible.
We split off. I went to go get stuff from the concession stand, and you went to the bathroom.
Yep.
Where you had your own experience of horror.
Oh my god.
I went in line, and the guy behind the counter, instead of saying something to me, just kind of gestured to me with his finger, just, come here.
We got popcorn and an icy.
Yes. The theater was pitch black.
Yeah,
Absolutely
there's
no
no
lights.
like safety lighting, like no.
And this is pre-show.
Yeah.
This is like,
It is dark.
and the tickets we bought were like, you had to buy your seats. So you had to like pick the seats you wanted. So it's not like
Which
you just...
I don't like.
I see some benefit in it sometimes, but it seems to me
It's fucking dumb.
that when you allow people to do that, they're gonna leave onesies all over the place.
Well, yeah.
Like
so you're
there's
gonna
always
have all
like,
these onesies and doozies
Right.
all over the place.
so how do you do that in a packed theater?
What is obnoxious is in December we went and saw the newest Star Wars movie. So we got there at a reasonable time, and because you had assigned seating, we had to sit at the like up against the goddamn screen. But there was no one else in there because everybody else bought their tickets online and then showed up 2 minutes before the movie started. It's rewarding bad behavior.
Pro tip: always grab the seats right behind the handicap section.
Yes,
That's where you want to be. That's the railing. You get to prop your feet up on the railing.
it's nice.
You're just in the middle. You're not too far away. You're not too high. That's the sweet spot.
This was the first theater that we've been to since we've moved back to the United States that had regular theater seats.
We pull down the seats,
Which is
sit in
fine
them.
with me. I'm okay with that.
As we're getting to our seats, we had to use our flashlights to find our seats.
No flashlights on our phones. We don't
On our
carry
phones.
regular flashlights.
I don't know about you. I carry a mag light on me at all times.
No, you don't.
I
Where
don't.
would you keep it?
In my pocket.
Those things are really big.
Is that a mag light in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
It's a mag light, always.
So I found myself stepping over Nacho's boxes from the people before, because we were probably like the second or third couple in there.
Yeah.
And then when the trailers came up, I noticed out of the corner of my eye, there's the same guy from the concession stand now down there like cleaning up.
Yep.
He was using the light from the trailers to clean up the aisles.
He was like sweeping and like emptying trash bags and like shaking out new trash bags, making a lot of noise, talking on his radio at full volume. It was neat.
Yes, it was like there was nobody else in the theater.
It was just him.
It wasn't trailers that nobody's ever seen before. Maybe somebody might want to watch.
It was just him.
Yeah. So the movie starts.
We're in this theater with copious amounts of teenagers.
Lots of teenagers and a couple younger than teenagers.
Ugh.
Whenever you're in an R-rated movie and they bring kids in, we're at the age now that's all we focus on.
Well, it's troublesome.
How inappropriate that is for the kids.
It is troublesome. We saw Django, in theaters when it came out, and there's a couple or a family in front of us, and they've brought their 4 and 5-year-old kids just playing in the aisle during Django. And I do not remember a single thing about that movie.
Right.
All I remember is how fucking furious I was. I was like, when we were leaving, I was keeping pace with that family so that when we got out, I could say something to them. But you had to go to the bathroom, so we stopped. But I was ready to just bawl them the fuck out. That is inappropriate.
But what was weird is that every time the clown was doing something scary, that little kid was laughing.
Yeah. Kids are fucked up now.
Which means I think he means he's going to be a mass murderer. I
Either
think that's what
that
means.
or he's seen shit like this a lot, and his parents are just terrible people.
So the movie starts, and we're looking at Georgie and Bill, who are brothers. Bill's the older brother. He has a lisp. and Georgie is his little brother, and he just wants to go out and sail a boat in the street.
In the rain.
So Bill is making him a little paper boat, and then Georgie gets some wax from downstairs. I don't know about you. They built this whole scene up with the basement and everything as like a scary scene. Did you think that it was a scary scene, or because the story's so well known?
No, it just, I mean, I've not ever seen the original series or read the books. Book, singular.
Yeah.
But the tension was just kind of like you knew that nothing was going to happen to him there. Like, it was just building it up like he was a little bit scared of some stuff.
Right.
And there was a point at which he's walking down the stairs to the cellar and he stops and he's, you know, kind of trying to like steady himself to walk down there. And he goes, I'm brave. And I was like, yes, you are, Georgie. You are brave. And it just broke my heart because I knew what was going to happen to him.
Yes.
And it was so sad. And we've talked about this before, but like ever since we had our son, every time there's a movie with like little boys in it, all I see is our son. I don't have that thing with our daughter, just with our son.
Probably had it for a while.
It's just like I just see him everywhere and it just breaks my heart.
Unfortunately, Georgie leaves exit storm drain later on. Bill Skarsgård, who plays it and does a completely different rendition than Tim Curry did in 19...
From what I understand, Tim Curry was like more of like a 3 pack of cigarettes a day, like I just want to eat your face clown.
Yeah. More like an abusive uncle than a clown trying to trick you.
Right, like he wasn't trying to make you comfortable with him, right? He was just trying to eat you.
Right. And this he rides the gamut. He goes from like he's trying to trick you or he's trying to play coy to just straight out trying to terrify you. But I think part of his performance was just to be that crazy, just unpredictable. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what it is. Whereas Tim Curry was always very much just an asshole.
I think Georgie was the only one that he like played nice to, wasn't he?
Yeah, in the film.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because he was so young. But they establish early on that this is not the same kind of movie, because in the original movie, they cut away as Georgie is taken. In this one, you see Georgie get his arm bit off and then drugged down in the cellar.
When he got his arm bit off, he kind of started to like run away, and I was like, "Oh, good, he's gonna leave. He's gonna get away," and he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He absolutely doesn't.
He yells for his brother on his way down.
It's so sad. That poor little baby.
So this sets us up for Bill, who has a lisp, wanting to find out what happened to his brother because nobody knows for sure.
Because he's a dutiful brother.
And he's not scared. Well, he's scared, but he's not afraid to do what has to be done.
I have a question.
Okay.
You have older siblings.
Mhm.
Do you think that they would search the sewers for you?
I don't know. And I'm not going to text them.
I feel like one of them would.
Okay. What about you? Do you feel like you would search for your little brother?
Me at that age? I feel like no. No, I don't think so. I think I would have like accepted my parents' like diagnosis of the situation and just been like, okay, sure.
Yay, free room.
I would have felt so guilty because I let him go. And I would have hated myself for forever, but I would have accepted their version of events that he was just gone. I left him on the bus constantly.
This world, Derry, Maine, that they live in is infested with the most horrible bullies that you've ever seen.
The 80s were hard, y'all. Real hard. So is it 3 or 4 main bullies? 3?
There's 4.
4?
And then one exits pretty quickly.
Yeah. There's kind of like a ringleader, and this kid is a full sociopath. Like, he needs immediate psychological help.
So the main bully is Henry Bowers.
Yes.
And Henry Bowers is an absolute demon of a child.
He's a dickhead.
He's the kind of one you want to throw back.
He needs help.
But the other kids, Bill's friends, are Stanley Uris, who's a neat and clean Jewish kid who experiences an encounter with Pennywise in his dad's office.
Mm-hmm. His dad is the rabbi. And there's a painting in there that he is rightfully pretty afraid of a scary woman with a weird face.
Yeah.
She comes to life.
Yeah. Pennywise.
And she plays a flute?
Was she playing a flute in that?
Yeah.
He is the only one who doesn't see Pennywise's true form until later on. Every other kid that experiences Pennywise has his form at the very end of their scare.
Right. They see something else first, and then they see him.
Richie Tozier is another of their friends. He doesn't see Pennywise until they all have already been talking about Pennywise. He's your loudmouth friend.
He's the one of your friends that always has something incredibly inappropriate to say.
And then you have Eddie Kasprak, who is the hypochondriac. He's your friend that doesn't want to do anything dangerous. He's always like, guys, this is a bad idea.
He's me.
Yeah. And he sees Pennywise as a leper on the street, and then sees the actual clown behind balloons as he's running away.
Right. As he's passing this super scary house in the middle of town.
Bill is having a tough time with Georgie being gone, and Georgie lures him down into the basement, or at least Pennywise dressed using Georgie.
Like an apparition kind of thing of Georgie.
And lures him down into the basement where Pennywise comes. Pennywise attacks him, and that's where he encounters Pennywise. Mike Hanlon, who's a homeschooled kid, experiences Pennywise while he's delivering meat from his grandfather's farm, and you find out that he had actually been in the house when his parents were killed in a fire. And then Ben Hanscom is the new kid who is really into history.
I love Ben.
And he meets up with Pennywise at the library. This
is probably legitimately the creepiest scene in the whole movie, in my opinion. Because, so, Ben he's a chubby kid, and that's what he's getting picked on for mostly. They keep calling him Tits, which is really sad. Yeah. So, to kind of... And he's new. He just moved there. So to kind of escape the summer, he's spending a lot of time in the library doing research about the town that he just moved to. Mm. And he's noticed some weird shit. And so the librarian brings him a book and kind of slams it down on the desk. And she asks him if he has any friends. And he was like, can I just have the book? And she says, boys need to be outside in the summer. And he's like, can I please just have the book? So he starts reading the book and he learns about... this horrible event that happened in this town, which was where, what was it, a cotton mill exploded or something, some sort of mill exploded, and it was during Easter, and there was an Easter egg hunt going on in the town, a lot of people in the town were there, a lot of kids died in this fire. And so while he's reading, flipping through these pages, you see this person standing over, not over his shoulder, but in the distance. It's the librarian, and she's just turned around and she's got this creepy ass smile on her face, just standing really far back behind him, just staring at him.
And it's not noticeable unless you really look. You
right,
gotta pay
unless
attention
you're
to
paying
it.
attention. And it just caught my eye. I was like, what is she doing? And then I realized, she looked demonic. Mm. And it was terrifying. And it's never addressed. It's never brought back up. She's not anything bad. It just happened. And it was like, fuck. It sucked. But he sees Pennywise as, it starts off as a headless boy who comes... smoldering, walking down the stairs of the basement of the library. He got let in by smoldering Easter eggs.
And then there's finally Beverly.
Yes.
Beverly is a girl who's, I guess, more developed than all the other girls, and so they're picking on her. And there's stories being spread about her. Well, she's got her period already.
I think that this happens sometimes with girls in that age range, where sometimes one girl just gets singled out for no reason at all whatsoever, and horrible things get said about her, and it just becomes a thing. We meet her, she's in the bathroom, kind of locked herself in a stall. She's just sitting there and she's smoking, and these two...
Which isn't good for you.
It's not, especially not when you're that young.
And hard to hide in that era, I imagine.
It was the 80s,
yeah.
So, okay. She's sitting in there, and these girls... one girl is putting water into a trash bag And you're like, oh, Jesus. And so then the other girl is like, we just want you to know that you're trash, and here's a reminder for you. And then they dump the bag of trash water on her head over
But
the
let's
stall.
let's talk about the logistics of this. This little tiny girl got that full trash bag, that trash can. Like, this is a full, like, 30-gallon trash can
Yeah, it was pretty big.
with lots of water in it above her head over the stall.
Hey, whenever you're motivated, you can do all kinds of awful stuff.
I was impressed. Beverly meets up with Pennywise because her dad is
Molesting her.
what you get the sense of. And Pennywise attacks her after her dad creeps her out.
We talked about this before. There's this thing that the movies does where like they make like people like child predators into like these very stereotypical people. It's giving people this weird false sense of security.
Right, where you can see, like, you can identify who...
Right. Like, I know what someone that would do that looks like.
Yeah, you never know somebody truly, and a child molester can look like anybody.
Right.
And no matter how wealthy or poor, but when it comes to movies, they typically tend to make them like mechanics.
Right.
Or poor
or
people.
Single dads.
Beverly meets up with the group after Ben gets attacked by Henry Bowers.
Right.
And Henry carves his initials into him,
Into his tummy.
which sucks. That's
Yeah.
beyond bullying right there. That is assault.
Yeah.
Henry Bowers' dad is a police officer, and he believes that Henry is, I guess, too tough for his own good, or
A wiener.
he enjoys knocking him down a peg or two.
Tormenting his son.
Yeah. So later on in the movie, Henry Bowers gets back at him by,
Stabbing him in the throat.
yeah, as one does. I think
Sure.
it's an important part of a man's life. when he
I've
stabs
never
his father in the
stabbed
throat.
anyone in the throat.
You're not a man.
That's accurate.
I stabbed my dad many a times in the throat.
That's not true. You've never done that.
At least 3.
Your dad's very much alive.
Well, I didn't do it hard. So that's how Ben and Beverly get involved in what they call the Losers Club, which is the whole group. And then Mike, they say, from Henry as well, and that's when they have a rock throwing competition.
Right. So Henry is about to beat Mike's head in with a rock. Mike is also black. I don't know if we've mentioned this or not. But that's kind of the driving factor behind why he's being singled out, is like there's this pretty solid racist element underneath all of this. And Beverly throws a rock and hits Henry in the head.
Every single one of the losers has impeccable aim.
It's the 80s. They've all been in Sandlot. They've had a lot of practice at throwing stuff. So it's fine. It's a different time. These kids weren't playing video games. They were throwing shit.
So they win the battle.
They beat the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive. You know what? This movie, more than anything else, made me feel like I missed out on a really, like, essential part of childhood by not having a gang of, like, 5, like, ride or die best friends.
Every generation's got that movie that has, like, a group of friends that go off on an adventure and it becomes a cult classic. So you got The Goonies, you've got Stand By Me,
Now and then.
you've got the original It. So this archetype works, but I think studios are always wary of it.
Why? It's amazing. It makes you feel really good.
So when Stranger Things came out, that was kind of our generation, or this generation's group of friends adventure.
Right.
And now I think It is too. Like, it
Well,
kind of rides that
it
as
and
well.
Stranger Things sort of borrow from each other, culture-wise.
Yeah.
Like, they're similar.
Well, Stranger Things has a lot of influence from the book It, and then It looked at how Stranger Things did it, and they kind of utilized that in
Right.
the movie.
Which makes sense.
That being said, this movie currently, right now, sits at 420 million worldwide.
Friends?
420, yes, on Facebook.
That's a lot of people that love each other.
$420 million made worldwide.
Hmm.
It's one of the highest grossing, if not the highest grossing horror films ever. And it's just about a group of friends who take on a clown.
Well, good for them. I mean, they did a good job.
They take on this clown in multiple places. They
Yes.
take him on in his house. which the clown has one of those like derelict houses on the end of the street, which used to
Well, it used to be a well.
be a well. It used to be a well, yeah.
And there's still the opening for the well underneath the house.
Mhm.
And that's how he's accessing the sewer system, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like his funhouse full of evil and scariness.
So they take him on there.
Oh my god. During this time when they, take him on for the first time, Eddie breaks his arm
Yeah.
when he falls through the floor. But like it's not just like a straight break. It's like one of those curved breaks, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, under the skin.
My cousin was water skiing a couple of years ago, and she they got too close to the shore, and she let go and she hit the shore.
Ooh.
Right? So like her arm looked like a wave, like this, like her bone just did a this.
Ugh.
It was fucked up.
Think about the dance moves you could pull off like that, though.
But that's what his arm reminded me of. It was just it just gives you the willies.
They do win, though. They
I have
stab.
the shivers still.
They stab Pennywise with a poker.
No, it was a rod from the fence out front.
Yes.
Beverly does it. She stabs him through the eye.
And so Pennywise, who is obviously shocked that he is not eating these children right now.
But I think it was also
Runs
because
away.
they were all there together.
Hmm.
Had they been there, because he kept trying to separate them
Yes.
whenever they went into the house. He would block them off into separate rooms.
Which they all fell for.
Right.
Every time it happens in this movie, they all fell for
They're
it.
kids. We also learned in this that Richie is afraid of clowns.
Mhm.
Which is fucked for him because
Yeah,
like this
that's
is the
his
scariest clown of
favorite
all.
form, yeah. So Pennywise takes Beverly in a scene that's, you kind of feel like, because Beverly has a confrontation with her dad. Her dad chases her into the bathroom.
So, but before this happens, before Beverly gets taken, the friends have a falling out.
Yes.
And they're really mad at Bill for making them spend their summer trying to find his dead little brother. And they're like, you're going to get us killed. This is not cool anymore. And then he and Richie get into it pretty heavy, and Bill punches Richie in the face. And he's like, fuck you. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm leaving. And so then they all sort of split off on their own.
So Beverly gets attacked by her dad.
Yes.
He chases her into the bathroom, and she wallops him with the toilet seat cover
Yeah.
and kills him. Let's assume
he
he's
dead?
dead. He looks pretty dead.
I thought he was just unconscious.
And there's this moment where she thinks she's survived, and Pennywise comes out of nowhere and grabs her.
Yep.
Which goes against all the things we know about Pennywise. He doesn't just come up and grab you. He wants you to be afraid.
She was already pretty afraid, though.
But I think he wanted to use her as bait for the rest of them.
That's a good assumption.
So he drags her down into his sewer, into his special little man cave of Pennywiseness.
Sure.
She wakes up and she sees a train car with Pennywise the dancing clown written on it.
It's like an old-timey circus car thingy.
And Pennywise is inside that doing the strangest dance.
It's a weird dance.
It's an aggressive dance.
It's like aggressively fun.
It has no real payoff though. He just ends up jumping out at her, but
Yeah, it was weird.
I'm glad she got to see the dance first, I guess.
I think it was unsettling, but I don't know.
Well, I think they did that camera thing where like they focused on his face and the camera moved with his face
Possibly.
while he's doing his little jig. The boys get the band back together and they go down there to save her. Henry, who has killed his father now and is coming down, is being basically led by it to come and
Through the TV.
right, to come and kill the boys as they're trying to get to it. He attacks Mike, and
Right.
Mike throws him down the well.
And a pretty badass move, in my opinion.
Once again, though, these boys have been separated. Like, they get tricked into being separated at every step, and they do it again in the...
But only once on purpose.
At a certain point, you gotta be like, oh, he's trying to separate us.
Right, but again, they're kids and they're scared.
So they find Beverly, they pull her down, they get attacked by it again, and they defeat him again.
We're making this less climactic than it was. So they get down into the part where Beverly is being held, and she's unconscious, but she's floating in the air. Her eyes are white, and it's pretty scary looking. So one of the boys stands on the other boy's shoulder, and they pull her down to them so they can see her, and they can't figure out what's going on with her. And so Ben, because this whole time he's been insanely in love with Beverly, he kisses her, and in full Sleeping Beauty mode, she comes back to life.
Well, we can talk about a little bit of what they did to Beverly in this movie that kind of takes away from her character in the book. In the book and in the original movie, she was not bait. She actually is one of the driving forces to why they go down in the sewer to begin with. So it's weird that they took that away from her and turned her into just a damsel in distress in this one.
They kind of did that, and like they set her up to kind of be like a badass character because she is the aggressor, like against Pennywise a couple of times, and she's just taken on her dad.
And she's a strong personality. She's
Right.
She's willing to walk into a room and introduce herself and
She's a redhead.
and pull people together.
That's what they do. But they did. They made her a damsel, which was kind of strange. But so Georgie appears to Bill, and he's talking like he doesn't have an arm. He's talking about being ready to go home, and Bill says, "I would love for you to come home and be with me and Mom and Dad, but you're not you." And he shoots Georgie in the head with the bolt gun. And at this point, there was a couple sitting next to us in the theater. This man, every time something remotely curious happens, his wife would lean over, or his sister or whatever, I don't know, would lean over and she would say, "What just happened?" And he would tell her, but generally it was wrong. So she goes, "What just happened?" And he goes, "Well, that could be Georgie, but I don't think it is. But it could be." And it's just like, shut up. Like at full volume, they were talking about this. And it's like, you're not in your living room. You're not. You're in a theater. It's a shitty theater, but we're all here. Shut up. They were worse than the teenagers. Anyways, so it turns out that wasn't Georgie. It was fucking Pennywise. And he just
very
like,
cool transformation where
it was really cool. He just like shook out of it.
starts shaking and then like shakes into Pennywise.
It was interesting.
Which is interesting because Pennywise is not what it is. It is not a clown.
What is it?
It is a alien from the macroverse.
What? What's a macro?
So in the book, it is a creature from the macroverse who is like all powerful and eternal.
Okay.
And he crash lands in what will eventually be Derry, like 4 million years before that. And
Wait. So this is not a young Earth universe then?
No, this is Earth 2.
Okay. He must have been chilling for a long time.
Well, yeah, in the book they go through it. In the book, I haven't read it, but I think I want to because it sounds pretty cool. In the book, Pennywise actually narrates a couple chapters, so you see it through the eyes of Pennywise, and you find out why he attacks children and how he basically hibernates for 27 to 30 years, and then some horrible event will wake him up, and then it takes another horrible event for him to hibernate again.
Yeah.
His true shape is something that like humans can't comprehend. So, but he's got what's called deadlights. And the deadlights is an orange glow that kind of encompasses his whole body. And whenever Beverly gets that like glossed over look in her eyes, it's because she sees his deadlights. That's what is in his eyes.
Is that what's coming out of his mouth?
Yes. So the deadlights, it can drive a person insane. It can hypnotize you.
Bubble your brain.
Yeah. So they hint at this whenever he's in their final fight. They rip off one of his arms, or his arms gets ripped off, and it turns into like a spider arm. So after Pennywise is gone, because it's scared of them and it escapes back down into the sewer.
Did it escape back down into the sewer, or did they kill it?
It's not dead.
So the kids realize that he's afraid of them, and so they
Well,
beat,
again,
they beat the
Pennywise
shit out of him.
Pennywise shatters,
Right.
but Pennywise isn't really it.
I see. But they beat the balls out of him. Like, and he gets Bill at one point, and this is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. He gets Bill, and he's like, either you let me alone, and I'm gonna eat Bill, or I'm gonna eat Bill and then I'm gonna eat all of you, or you can just leave us be, like leave me and Bill, and then you guys can go free.
Sounds like option 1 and 3 are very similar.
Incredibly. And so Richie, who's the one that, you know, he had punched in the face and they really had a big falling out. He said, you know, Bill, I told you. You know, I told you this was a bad idea. I told you this was going to happen. And you punched me in the face, and you ruined my summer, and you drug me down into the fucking sewer, and now I'm going to have to kill this fucking clown. And he pulls a bat out of this big pile of shit that's down in its lair. And then all the kids, like, pick up stuff, and then they just beat the holy fuck out of it. And it was so cool. Like, I get violence is bad, but like
against a murderous clown, I think
it was
okay.
amazing. At one point, Bill picks up like a chain and starts beating him with it. It was like watching, do you remember that video game Road Rash whenever the PlayStation first came out? It was very similar to that.
Without the motorcycles.
It was really cool though. Like, they were willing to like sacrifice, like they were all ready to die. Like, they knew that that's what was going to happen, and they were prepared for it. And I can't even imagine being like a 12 or 13-year-old kid and being faced with that level of mortality and then just being a complete badass about it. And I understand that these are fictional characters, but it's just like, that's pretty fucking cool.
So as it falls, in this room that they're in is this giant pile of shit, and above it, all of his victims are kind of just
they're like floating in the air,
and they start to descend, and they don't really tell you that
what happens with them
or anything like that. But
they
you do
dead?
find
Are
out
they
that
alive?
Georgie is in fact dead. They find Georgie's clothes off in a corner.
I really thought that Georgie was going to still be alive. I was pretty upset.
I don't know how he would have survived with not having an arm.
I know. Like, I get the logistics of it, but
Plus,
I just wanted him to be alive.
Plus, I wonder, because in the scene where he attacks him with Georgie, it very much looks like it is using both Georgie and Pennywise as like almost hand puppets.
Yeah.
So I wonder if once you consume something, that's when he can use them. He can actually shapeshift into them.
It's possible.
So maybe that's what that is.
It was just sad. Like, I really wanted, like, because Bill works so hard to figure out what happened to him. Like, I just wanted everything to be okay for him. But I think it was. Like, in the end, I think it was okay. Like, he got closure, and he was still sad that his brother was dead, but, like, now he knew, and he knew it wasn't going to happen to anybody else.
The final scenes are them making a blood pact to, if it should ever come back around, to come back.
I just want to say, this was the 80s. AIDS was everywhere. Cutting yourself with broken glass that you found in a field and then rubbing your blood into someone else's blood is not a good idea.
And
just nothing about that is good. There's so many bloodborne illnesses.
I'm sure the dermatologist would discourage that highly.
Dermatologists?
Yeah. Isn't that who you go to for advice on anything?
Skin doctors? A dermatologist?
It was a joke. I'm sorry.
It's a terrible joke.
I thought it was a good joke.
It was good. But this is serious. AIDS.
But interesting. Part 2 is coming.
Dun, dun, dun.
Part 2 is 27 years later.
Do we have to wait 27 years?
No, we'll be waiting, I think, 2 years.
Oh.
But
how are these kids going to grow up into 27-year-olds?
Well, this was 1985.
Years?
27 years later is today. It's going to be set in present time.
Oh.
That's how they planned it.
It was definitely a very good film. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be, but it was good. It was 100% worth the $1,000 we paid in babysitter and movie tickets, and well worth going to a nasty theater for.
Do you want to know what Pennywise is afraid of?
Let me guess. Women and spiders.
And Spider Woman.
Yes.
The natural enemy of Pennywise is a giant turtle. He's
What?
a celestial being from the Macroverse.
A giant turtle.
Who is
Like a sea
giant
turtle?
Giant turtle.
That was unexpected.
Yeah.
So we leave the theater.
Mhm.
Pitch black. Still. Even though the movie's over. Pitch black.
Yep. We gotta use our phones to get out.
And so because I, have mom bladder and I have to pee every 20 minutes, I had to go back to the bathroom. It was a mistake.
See, but I think the bathrooms were just a movie tie-in.
I don't think so.
Because there's a part in it where Beverly's looking in her bathroom sink and it sprays blood all over the bathroom.
This bathroom was very similar to that. There were probably 7 or 8 stalls. Each one of them had some combination of copious amounts of toilet paper, pee everywhere, poop left in the toilet, or period blood all over the place. How does that even happen? I want to know.
So, was this a good film?
Absolutely. Yes.
Was this a scary film?
Yeah, there were definitely scary parts, for sure. Like, it's not going to give me nightmares or anything, but like...
Would you think...
You know what's messed up is that I'm scared of a lot of different things. But I think that living with you for the past 12, 13 years has made my tolerance for scary movies go up. And I realize that you watch a lot of really terrifying stuff by yourself because it would probably like ruin my life.
Would you be wary of a storm drain?
I mean, I've always been wary of storm drains. I don't walk on them because of alligators. That is a legitimate fear that I've had since I was a very small kid. And I don't walk on manhole covers and I don't walk on drains. I just don't. Period. End of story. Anything could happen.
All right. Well, anything else to say about it?
Go see it. Tip your waitress.
She'll be here all week.
Go pee before you leave home.
And check theaters first.
Yeah.
Maybe go to one you already know.
Maybe do that. Maybe go to a theater that's really close to your house. That's really nice.
All right. Well, thanks to Brandon Tuzio for our theme song. You can check out more of his work at Brandon Tuzio at SoundCloud. If you want to connect with us, you can connect on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of these socials at
Scaredy Cat Pod.
We'll be back soon with some more. We're now into October, which means that we got some things planned.
October.
We got some big October plans.
We have some special guests coming on.
And as long as no life events get in the way like they did last week, we should be able to get them done.
Life events?
Life events.
Did you get your period?
Not yet. I'm still waiting.
You might be pregnant.
I don't think that's possible.
You should take a test.
I'm pretty sure I'm not.
You couldn't get pregnant. I've had a vasectomy.
All right. Adios, muchachos.
Bye.